When should you limp in poker pre-flop? Have you ever found yourself at the poker table wondering if you should just call the big blind instead of raising? This is known as limping, and it can be a tricky decision. Limping means you are choosing to enter the pot without raising, which is often seen as a passive move. Let's break down when it might be appropriate to limp and what you should consider before making that choice. First, limping is generally considered a passive play. By just calling the big blind, you are not building the pot or taking control of the action. This can limit your options later when the flop comes. If you hit a strong hand, you may not be able to extract as much value as you would if you had raised pre-flop. Another point to consider is that limping invites other players to join the pot. When one player limps, it often encourages others to do the same. This can lead to multi-way pots, where more players are involved. Multi-way pots increase the chances that someone will connect with the board, making it harder for you to win with a marginal hand. Your position at the table is also important. Limping from early positions can be risky. Players in later positions can raise, putting you at a disadvantage. They will have the initiative and can dictate the action post-flop. So, when might limping be a good idea? If you are up against passive or inexperienced opponents who tend to fold to raises, limping can be a way to disguise your hand strength. You might want to see cheap flops with speculative hands like suited connectors or small pairs. If the table is filled with players who frequently call raises, limping can be a strategy to see flops cheaply. This can be particularly effective in cash games or deep stack situations where you plan to play aggressively after the flop. Sometimes, mixing up your play can keep your opponents guessing. Occasionally, limping with strong hands can balance your overall strategy. If you are in late position and the action folds to you, limping can be a deceptive play, though raising is usually the better option. Remember to use limping sparingly and selectively. Pay attention to your opponents and the dynamics of the table. Good players will often raise against limpers, forcing you to either pay more to see the flop or fold altogether. Finally, consider your own skills. If you are confident in your ability to play post-flop in multi-way pots, limping can be more valuable. However, keep in mind that limping is not typically recommended as a standard strategy. It can lead to difficult situations later in the hand. In summary, limping pre-flop can be a useful tool in specific situations, but it is often better to raise first in to take control of the pot. Understanding when and why to limp requires careful consideration of the table dynamics and your own playing style.